Today, a candlelight vigil is planned to honor the life of a young Spokane mom who lost her life over the weekend. It was in a suspected case of domestic violence. And new information tonight, the Spokane County Medical Examiner has determined Cassie died from multiple stab wounds. Right now, we are only using the victim's first names. Cassie was found dead in her North Spokane home on Sunday. Her 5-year-old daughter, Lily, is still hospitalized with serious injuries.
According to a GoFundMe setup for Lily, she is currently stable and doing well, but will remain sedated through the weekend. The vigil is scheduled for tonight at 7:30 at Franklin Park. Co-workers of Cassie are organizing the event with donations from their union. Those who attend are asked to wear masks and social distance. Domestic violence counselors will also be at the vigil for anyone who needs to talk. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we will talk about the push for Tina's Law, which would include a domestic violence registry.
So we know there are several resources in our community to help people deal with this pervasive issue of domestic violence. And joining us right now is Dina Chappelle, the president of the Our Kids, Our Business Child Abuse Prevention Coalition. So Dina, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. We know this is a really important topic and certainly timely. We just want to begin by saying this particular case has hit the community hard when we hear about these stories, but we know that there are so many more out there that we never ever hear about that do not get covered on the news. So can you kind of just talk a little bit about how much domestic violence and child abuse is really impacting our community right here in the Spokane area?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. I want to start by saying that we know that any amount of family violence has a major impact on family systems and particularly on the developing child. And here in Spokane, our domestic violence rates and our child abuse rates are higher than the state average. And I think with COVID, the isolation that's presented, we've seen an increase in intimate partner violence and domestic violence. And we just really need to be really aware of it, get help for those people that we know are in those situations, and provide some prevention and really focus on the prevention services that we have available.
So Dina, are you able to see any correlation with the schools that have been closed for this past year due to COVID concerns and higher incidences of child abuse?
Yeah, I would say, we can look at data that's showing that like the number of child abuse reports are down. But there's a lot of other data that supports that it hasn't decreased. For example, there was a report from the CDC, I believe, that talked about that emergency room visits have been up with some of those younger children. And we know, I think I can speak for everyone out there who works with children particularly, that this year has been very hard and very challenging because we don't have eyes on those kiddos. We're not able to see how they're doing, how they're functioning, if they're safe or not. And I think that's been the hardest thing, is not being able to be in school buildings. So if you're a teacher, a counselor, a social worker, and not being able to have access and just kind of keep your finger on the gauge, that's been really, really challenging this last year.
I'm curious, what have you been doing knowing that you don't have those eyes or that you don't have as many as you need? How are you navigating these challenges, and what are you doing in spite of those challenges? What do you tell people who may be in that situation or know of someone in that situation?
Yeah, I think, again, I always say how blessed we are in Spokane because we have some amazing programs and agencies and resources available for families in particular. And I think most agencies have been really creative with how to continue getting information out because the key is educating the community. We all need to understand that these issues of domestic violence, child abuse, and neglect, it impacts all of us, and it impacts our community far and wide. So how can each of us come together? And I think you've seen some creativity around people being able to offer their parenting classes through Zoom meetings, being able to try to be creative with how to get information out. So I know, for example, we partnered with the Domestic Violence Coalition to get a resource list together that went in lunch or like the food boxes that came home through the school districts so that families had access to those lists. And so we just need to continue being creative and figuring out ways to promote prevention and how do we get people the help they need before it's too late.
Well, we certainly thank you for the work
Yes.
that you do day in and day out, and of course your commitment to this issue, and again for taking the time to help educate us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And just on a last note, I would really encourage if someone's in a situation where they need help, please reach out to resources like the YWCA's domestic violence program, because we know that when you're leaving a domestic violence relationship, it's one of the most dangerous times. So to connect with resources like that can help you in that planning so that you can remain safe, and just utilize those resources.
Thank you, Dina. Good advice. We appreciate you. Dina Chappelle from Our Kids, Our Business. Thank you very much for being with us today.
We also want to remind
Thank
people
you.
you can find more information on our website. We do have some of those resources. Just go to KREM.com.